Beaux-Arts as well. The building under construction from 1923, reconstruction, is also Beaux-Arts. So it has Corinthian columns, griffins, and urns. See a lot of Beaux-Arts buildings throughout Chicago, and that's because they were very popular here in the aftermath of the 1893 World's Fair, the Columbian Exposition, which featured a temporary white city made of stucco and plywood that was done in the Beaux-Arts style. So very popular, permanent buildings were constructed in the wake of the World's Fair for decades to come. Now, Wacker Drive, to our left, this was the first double and triple-decker street in the world. The drive itself, Wacker Drive, is part of the 1909 City Plan of Chicago, co-written by the architect Daniel Burnham. So the same architect that designed the World's Fair in 1893. It's something very amazing. The balustrade here at Wacker Drive is inspired by the balustrade along the walking gardens of the palace at Versailles. Up and to the left, the domed cupola-topped building, that is the Jewelers Building from 1927. The four temples on the four corners of the base of the building, each one is inspired by a single temple in Athens, Greece. That used to be a fire suppression system. Each temple used to have a vat of water that was used in the event of a fire. The Jewelers Building was also designed with a very unusual security measure, which is an elevator large enough for you to drive your car into. This was for the jewelers in the building, so they're able to drive inside the building, park up on their floor, and not be exposed to the mean streets of Chicago in 1927. There are 39 of these movable drawbridges throughout Chicago. That's more than any other city in the world. There are massive counterweights concealed by the bridge houses. It's a teeter-totter mechanism known as trunnion bascule. We've got the sun there, to the right of the sun, looking very dramatic. The Corn Cob Towers of Marina City, 1963 to 1964 for that construction, designed by Bertrand Goldberg. Those are pie-shaped apartments up there, and those are balconies as well. If you see balconies on a building, it's not an office building. Office buildings don't have balconies, not Chicago. Now, the architect Bertrand Goldberg was interested in class diversity in his city planning and his city concepts, and Marina City was specifically designed to be for the middle class, designed to be affordable, and designed with all the comforts of the suburbs in a downtown area, designed with a movie theater, a bowling alley, a pharmacy, a grocery store, everything you need from the suburbs down here. So we've got restaurant space, and then looking here, you can see the open-air parking garage on the bottom of the two towers. 24-hour valet parking. Now, the 24-hour valet parking is for a good reason. It is very tricky to park your car there. The visibility, very, very narrow due to the curvilinear shape. Hey, and a car, he's reading Yachting Magazine, how appropriate. And a car once drove off the parking garage and splashed into the river. It happened. But it wasn't an accident. It was for a movie, The Hunter, starring Steve McQueen. It was a stunt, planned stunt, but still, that is why there's professional drivers there. We don't want any accidents like that. Moving along now, the bridge houses, the architecture of the bridge houses are completely different from bridge to bridge. You're not going to see the same bridge house twice. The Chicago River today, on our tour, we're probably going to see other recreational vehicles, and maybe other yachts and tour boats. But once upon a time, the Chicago River was all business. See, this body of water that we are on connects with the Gulf of Mexico. Yeah, so artificially connected now, but it used to be just a very short walk. The Chicago River connects to the Des Plaines, which connects to the Illinois, which connects to the Mississippi River. If we had enough gas and sandwiches, we would actually be able to make it down to New Orleans, right now, on the right side. This is a relic of the period of when the Chicago was a busy port city. 100 years old, 1914 on our right. This is the Reed Murdoch Center here at the Clock Tower. To make sure that the employees of the shipping warehouse were not late for work, had no excuses. That's the front of the building, facing the river, doing its work on the river itself. See, the Chicago River used to be quite cluttered, with shoulder to shoulder with tall ships and barges making their way along the river. There's a style around the world as the Chicago School. This green sided building catching the light, this kind of shorter building, is a great example of the style of architecture. The Chicago School of Architecture employs the steel frame skeleton, which recently had been perfected by William LeBaron-Jenny. Once you have a steel frame, it accelerates how tall you can make a building. So this building on the right, Chicago School, steel frame skeleton allows for massive windows. Contemporary buildings from the time would have tall, skinny windows because the walls are holding up the structure. Also note how simple the ornamentation is on the facade. The Chicago School was contemporary with the Beaux-Arts movement, but didn't have the same sorts of griffins and urns and columns and temples. Quite the opposite. Louis Sullivan, one of the primary architects of the Chicago School, coined the expression that you may have heard, form follows function. There's nothing on a Chicago School building that's not serving some purpose. Here to the right is the Merchandise Mart. The Merchandise Mart is a massive building, and it is a business-to-business showroom space for merchandisers and retailers to come together in a one-stop shopping location. Commissioned and conceptualized by Marshall Field of Field's department store, and Marshall Field is one of the heads commemorated in these 8 oxidized green busts. Marshall Field, Montgomery Ward, Merchant Kings, the 20th century. Now it's kind of hard to take a picture of the Merchandise Mart from this angle, so actually I'll tell you more about it when we're coming back this way and the sun's not in your face and you can see almost the entire thing. The Merchandise Mart, 1931. Looks like a mall inside, but closed off to the public. Leaving the main branch behind us, we're heading out to Wolf Point. This is where the 3 branches of the Chicago River come together. Now, the river was widened out in the middle of the 19th century from what was an enlarged stream, essentially. Today it's about 20 feet. Oh, hey, hello, hey. It's about 20 feet deep. And where we are here, where the 3 branches come together, was more of a skinny Y. This was widened out in 1845. And no, we're on a boat, can you believe it? I was excited. So this was widened out to become a turning basin, large enough, if you will imagine, a tall ship, a long, tall ship. So wide enough for a tall ship to pivot from branch to branch here along the river. This area of Wolf Point was very industrial, and Chicago was only incorporated into a city in 1837. It was here at Wolf Point at a hotel no longer standing called the Sauganash that vote took place in 1837. And throughout the 19th century and into the 20th, this area becomes very industrial. A lot of smokestacks and factories and warehouses. We're not too far away from where the Union Stockyards once was. We were known as the butcher to the world, with the Union Stockyards, where all meat east of the Mississippi was processed and packaged here in Chicago. There on the left is a friend of Chicago, that is the elevated train. The L train's been part of our fabric since 1893. That's the pink line heading into the business district known as the Loop. The L was originally, the first elevated train tracks were constructed for the World's Fair of 1893 to bring folks down to the south side neighborhood of Jackson Park. In the 21st century, this area is becoming residential. This is the base of what will be a high-rise residential building. The first kid on the block in this neighborhood for high-rises is this white building here to the left with the bluish tinted windows. This is Riverbend from 2001, designed by James Stefano. This building is designed to be optimize the view. You can see how it curls inwards to maximize that view. And the upper floor is actually, the building leans outwards. You can't really tell from this angle as much, but it leans out to the left to give more square footage for the more expensive condos. 2001, Riverbend, James Stefano. This out-of-commission bridge directly ahead of us, that's the old Galena Railroad. And this bridge has been left open perpetually as a piece of urban sculpture. Okay, it was less expensive to just leave it here. It is visually interesting. It's from 1907. And you can see on the right the enormous counterweight there, the block of concrete. That's the mechanism by which these bridges function. Teeter-totter, trunnion bascule, counterweight attached to the leaf of the bridge. It has railroad tracks on it that once connected to where the Merchandise Mart now stands. It was a major train station. Chicago was the center of the transcontinental railroads. We were the hub All trains came through Chicago. Huge industry here. Coming up on the left, the river cottages, designed by the architect Harry Weiss, known for his nautical imagery in his architecture. Porthole windows, spiral staircases, the rooftops look like sails on a sailboat. Each one of these condos has its own elevator, and each condo has its own dock. The original owners have yet to sell. So it's original owners since 1990. It's going to be really interesting to see what they go for. Because at the time that the river cottages were built, they were an anomaly, very unique, facing the river at a time where most architecture along the river looked more like this. To the right, this is the East Bank Club from 1979. It's the back of the building. So this is how most of the architecture in the 20th century along the river looks. Turning our back on the river, ignoring the river, nothing really much to look at. As I mentioned, this area is very industrial, and what once was a brick wall of a factory to our left, covering the sun up with your hand, you can see the Kinsey Park homes, first of which were built in 2001. So these are townhomes, row houses, varying in price from around $850,000 to $1.5 million. Which is not crazy, wackadoo expensive, but it's expensive considering the amount of property that you have. So, huge contrast between 2001 and 1979. This is a direct result of the Riverwalk Initiative, which was put into place by former Mayor Daley. The Riverwalk Initiative is a series of ordinances and incentives that affect how construction on the river goes. So, existing property has to add landscaping. So the back of the East Bank Club becomes adorned with trees, dogs, men, and park benches. So that's a part of the beautification of the Riverwalk Initiative. Any new property has to have landscaping elements as well as public access to the river. This is an open sidewalk. This is a public sidewalk. The plan with the Riverwalk Initiative is to make the river open to the public as much as possible. The big deal with the Riverwalk Initiative from the early 90s is that it's a cleanup movement as well. It's now a $500,000 fine to dump in the river. However, the city of Chicago is still allowed to, and but we are minimizing the amount of overflow, minimizing that goes into the river during and after a heavy rainfall. It's a work in progress. The Deep Tunnel project, we've completed phase 1 of 3 phases, and it'll still be another few decades until the Chicago River is completely free of being utilized as overflow. We got a ways to go, but we're going in the right direction. Because of actions that have been taken, the Chicago River is getting cleaner and cleaner every single year. Speaking of directions, those of you with a good sense of direction may be picking up on something. We're turning. This is as far as we go on the North Branch. We go a lot further down the South Branch. And yeah, so we've come a long way since the 19th century when the Chicago River was used as a convenience. See, we were incorporated in 1837, and during the 19th century, Chicago became the fastest growing city in the history of the modern Western world. This entire area was formed by glacial movement during the last ice age. The glaciers churning up the soil and leaving a lot of very mineral-rich sediment behind. In fact, the Chicago River has a natural green tone to it due to algae that grows along the bottom. And also, the glacial movement left this area really marshy, really mucky and muddy. So the city that was built in the 19th century of Chicago was built a little bit too fast. It was a city made of wood. And, I suppose probably was. A city made of wood, and a city that was built a little bit too quickly. And the way the river was utilized was as a dump by the Union stockyards. Animal carcasses, entire animal carcasses were tossed into the river. The entirety of the city, where do you think everything was flushed into? The problem is that the river flows out into Lake Michigan. Lake Michigan is our drinking water. Still is was then, still is today. So for sanitary reasons, and because of really unnecessary, hundreds of unnecessary deaths due to typhoid and cholera, the Chicago River was reversed. Chicago River reversal in 1900 took 13 years of planning, 3 years of construction, but by digging a canal deeper than the river by about 15 feet deeper than the lake, further south than we go, but it's working as we speak. considered very impressive today. Chicago River does not flow very fast, but it does flow backwards. So we approach the Kinsey Street Bridge here. This was the location of the first pedestrian bridge in Chicago, originally made of wood, built to connect two taverns to one another on either bank of the river. People are jumping in. A lot of heavy drinking in frontier town Chicago. This pinkish building ahead to the right with the stars on the exterior. This is actually the oldest building that we'll see on the tour today, from 1898. This is Fulton House. It was converted into condos by our friend Harry Weiss, who designed the river cottages again on your right. And this was originally a freezer. This was a storage facility for meat from the Union stockyards. Now, how do you keep meat cold? At the turn of the last century, ammonia and brine coursing through pipes, through the floors and the ceilings. And you can see how thick the walls are. The building did not originally have balconies. Matted horsehair was stuffed into the walls. That was the insulation. When it was renovated in the 1980s, it took 18 months to rip out all of the matted horsehair on those thick refrigerator-like walls. Fulton House, 1898. Now, directly beyond the cranes to the left, with the sun glinting off, it is 333 West Wacker Drive, a building that says New V on the top. With its green-like shape, this building is inspired by the Chicago River. Now, when I said the Chicago River is green, I'm not talking about St. Patrick's Day, when we dump the non-toxic powder into the river. It's fluorescent green. The natural algae color of the river is a lot more subtle, but it still can have a green tone when the light is just right. So this building, inspired by its location, inspired by the river, the exterior curve matches the bend of the river. It's designed by Cohn, Peterson, and Fox. It has these green marble stripes along the bottom as well, matching the river, inspired by the river. This is a style of architecture known as postmodernism. Postmodernism in architecture can mean that the building is inspired by an outside influence, whether it is the location, the company inside, or even other buildings. Next door to the New Bean building is a postmodern structure that has, you can see the clear glass and translucency up at the top there with the trusses. That's concealing the mechanicals of the building. But the profile, the left side of 191 North Wacker, is designed to imitate the clock tower building that you see ahead to the right. It's the Boeing building, that's from 1993. So from its profile, it's like a clock tower too, imitating the style. So we get these variations on a theme. The postmodern movement is aging quite nicely as well. 333 West Wacker Drive here on our left was actually built in 1983, even though it looks like it was built just a few years ago. So finding that this almost sculptural quality, aging quite nicely, looking quite classic, and quite lovely movement, postmodernism. Going over the second two double-decker L train tracks. The Chicago School of Architecture. Now, steel frame skeleton, big windows, and Louis Sullivan, he's our architect who said form follows function, famously hated Daniel Burnham's work. Daniel Burnham of the neoclassical Beaux-Arts movement. In fact, Louis Sullivan was quoted as saying, when he saw the plans for the World's Fair, proclaiming that the design would set back architecture in America by 50 years. See, the Chicago School found the Beaux-Arts movement to be dishonest, to be a little silly, a little tacky. Why are we pretending like we're French or Greek or Roman? I mean, we're not. So there's a certain rugged honesty in the Chicago School movement. The form follows function, less is more, steel frame skeleton,